Welcome to a vlog of our first days in Seoul, Korea. So first we started out at the Vancouver airport and we left on April 26th, taking a 12-hour flight to Korea. The food was really good, but by the end of the 12-hour flight, we were really excited to get into Incheon, which is about 1 hour from Seoul in the airport. And one thing that we found really cool when we first got to Korea were the crosswalks. The lights are red when you are not allowed to cross, and then they turn this bright green color when you're allowed to cross. But we weren't allowed to leave the airport yet because we had to take all of our luggage and go to the COVID-19 testing center to get our negative COVID tests. Everything at the airport was super efficient, so we ended up getting our COVID test, and then we got a meal from the airport. This was our first time eating in Korea. I got a coffee and this really good triangle thing that had rice and tuna in it, and there was a Krispy Kreme in the airport, which I was not expecting. So then we got onto the airport express train and we took that into Seoul. It took about 1 hour and we were really tired at this point. It was about 10 p.m. When we got to Seoul, we saw this really cool cleaning machine that chased us, and it was kind of scary, but Seoul was so beautiful, but we were really tired, so we walked straight to our hotel and fell asleep. So our hotel was in the middle of Gangnam. It was very small, but it was very clean and nice. So we had 2 beds and the view looked right out onto the streets, and Gangnam is a business district, so there's lots of people walking by in suits. The bathroom was also very nice. The shower was super strong and warm, and we also thought the toilet was so cool. It had all these buttons and these settings. So once we woke up on the next day, we started our day with some McDonald's because we wanted to see what the difference was between American McDonald's. We got a Shanghai chicken wrap, coffee, and I also got cheese mozzarella sticks. And then we went to this beautiful library. It was absolutely gorgeous, and it's a real functioning library. It's called Starfield Library in the Coex Mall. We also brought a tripod so that we could take pictures ourselves. So then in the same mall was the Coex Aquarium, so we wanted to check out the displays here. So the aquarium features a lot of really cool exhibits, tons of animals including manatees, penguins, meerkats, koi, everything you could possibly imagine. And they also had this really cool underwater tunnel, so you could walk underneath it and see sharks and stingray floating above you. The penguins were also really cute. I did kind of feel bad for them being trapped in this little enclosure, but they really liked interacting with us and they were super friendly. We still had a lot of our day left, so we left the aquarium, went out onto the street and saw these really nice lanterns, and then we took the metro system to the National Museum of Korea. And by the way, the metro system in Korea is so good. It's really easy to understand. Then we got some lunch from CU Convenience Store. This is our favorite convenience store, and they had this beautiful patio. We ended up eating kimbap, that triangle tuna thing again, and some coffee drinks. So the National Museum of Korea had this beautiful grounds, including this koi pond, and then we are also FaceTiming our friend Sophia, who is giving us advice about where to go in Seoul. The museum was super aesthetic, and it had this amazing architecture to it with really high ceilings. The coolest part of the museum for me was this little robot thing. So you could touch the touch screen and ask it to take you to a place. So we asked the robot to take us to the water fountain in the museum, and then it guided us to the destination, and we followed right behind it, and it knew when we were following it and then when we had stopped following it. And there was people all over the museum following these little robots that rolled around. We also drank from these really cool water cups in the museum. Instead of cups, they had envelopes, and you filled these with cold water and drank them. The water was really good, but I just thought that the way that they served the water was super smart. They also had these big touchscreen walls that you could play little games on and do little missions and learn about the history of Korea, as well as these big Buddhist paintings. They had sculptures, artwork, everything you could ever imagine. The main exhibit of this museum was a contemplation room. So it's a dark room illuminated by only a few lights with a couple of statues in it, and it was very quiet. So finally, after taking a billion videos of the amazing architecture, we got into a taxi and we started to head towards the North Seoul Tower Observatory, which is this really high 50-story tower that looks out over Seoul. The Seoul Observatory is in this massive park called Namsat Park, which had a lot of wildlife, including this little magpie. And so we rode the elevator all the way up to the very top. And then we had to walk through these dark rooms that were illuminated by this like blue lights, as well as this really trippy kind of 3D experience that we had to get through before getting to the actual observation deck. And like the lights were like moving underneath your feet, and it was really cool. The view was super beautiful when you got to the top, and it was kind of a circular thing, so you could walk all the way around and see all the different sides of Seoul. We looked for our hotel and we actually found it. The washroom stalls in this place were also super cool. So this is a washroom stall looking out at the entirety of Seoul. I was literally amazed. The observation deck also has these little locks that you can buy and you can write your name on them. So we bought one and we wrote our names on them. And then we walked out to the observation deck, which had literally a billion of these locks attached to it. So after a little bit of a struggle, we finally locked our lock on to the observation deck, and then we headed back down and took the bus to our next destination. So we went to this plaza called the Dongdaeum Design Plaza, DDP for short, and it's basically, I guess, a metro station almost, and it had this really amazing architecture and all these big concrete walls and these lights. So we took lots of pictures here. There was also this cool Lorax type forest with these shiny palm trees, and you could clap at them and then they would start moving. So after exploring the outside, we actually went inside to this place called the Design Lab, which had all this really cool interior architecture. And we took some pictures here, but then shortly after got kicked out by the security guards because they were closing. Right beside the plaza is this big fashion mall called DDP Fashion Mall. It's open from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. and has a ton of clothes. Then we were really hungry, so we started to look for a restaurant to eat. Unfortunately, most of the restaurants that we went to were closing or were full. So we kept looking around this area, and finally we found this small Korean barbecue place. Nothing was in English and we had no clue what to order, but we sat down and the lady just gave us food. So it ended up being a really delicious meal and very authentic and tasting so good. So we got all of these little dishes. The main portion of it was the frozen pork belly, which we cooked ourselves on the grill. And then we also had garlic that we fried as well. The best part of it was the kimchi. It was so delicious. So you took a bit of pork, a bit of kimchi, and then all of the other sides. There was like egg sides, bean sprouts, noodles, and so you put it all and you wrapped it in lettuce and you ate it. We also got a bottle of soju, which is the most popular liquor here in Korea. Almost 11:30 at night by the time that we had finished, so we headed back home on the metro and fell right asleep. Thank you so much for watching.